If you think you've heard some of the most terrible true crime stories, this one right here might leave you speechless. Today, I want to talk about the Memphis case that shocked the entire country when Jesse Dotson Jr. was accused of carrying out one of the deadliest family massacres in Tennessee history. But here's the thing, this is not just a story about violence. This is a story about family revenge, surviving witnesses, and a chain of events that led to an unimaginable tragedy. What really happened inside of that Leicester Street home? Stick around because we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. We're going to speak about a timeline and the details that made this one of Memphis's most infamous criminal cases. So the guy at the center of this, y'all, is dang, can I talk? Jesse Dotson Jr. Before the Leicester Street massacre ever happened, Jesse was already having a long history with violence. As a teenager, he had multiple run ins with the law involving threats, assaults, weapons offenses. Court records even describe incidents where he'd already threatened family members and got into violent altercations and eventually dropped out of school. And he entered into the justice system. 1994 is when things got really crazy for him. He was charged with unaliving a man in a dispute over a rug deal. He ultimately pleaded guilty to second degree red rum and he spent about 14 years in prison before being released. According to prosecutors, just months after he was released, Dotson found himself hanging out with his family. Now, y'all, his brother, Cecil Dotson, he's kind of at the center of this, uh, the start of the situation, if you will. So while Jesse was in prison, y'all, his mother only came to see him once in the 14 years. His brother never came. So it's like he was sitting in there boiling, um, building resentment. And then when he got out, his brother had a house and, he had a wife, he had family, he had kids. So it's kind of like Jesse was resentful, but he also was jealous. So one night, Jesse and his brother, a few other adults, were hanging out and Jesse and Cecil ended up getting into it. Now, y'all, they had been out, they've been drinking, what have you. And when they got into it, the brother Cecil, he actually went and got his sawed off shotgun. And I guess he pointed it at Jesse, just trying to establish the fact that it's his territory, etc. But he ended up putting the GUN down, I guess, when he thought that things were settling down. At the time of this argument, a guy named Hollis Seals was actually walking through the door. So as he walked through the door, Jesse actually unalived him first, right? There was a total of 6 people unalived that evening. It was Hollis Seals, Cecil Dotson, which was the brother who was involved in the argument, Marissa Ring Williams, which was Cecil's fiance, Samario Dotson, which was 4 years old, Cecil Dotson, which the second, which was 2 years old, which that was his nephew, and Shindri Robertson, an adult female acquaintance. So Jesse hit Hollis first as he's walking in the door, hit his brother second. He hit his brother 4 times, and including hitting his brother in the legs because he didn't want his brother to be able to get up and walk away. The women started screaming. He started working on them next. And then, y'all, the kids were in the back. Now, there were 3 kids in the back. The 2 I just mentioned who were deceased, but there was also his nephew, Jesse Dotson Jr.'s nephew, CJ, who was 9 years old at the time. So time passes by. Jesse leaves. He goes home. Um, Cecil, the brother, his baby mom starts trying to call Cecil to figure out where her child is because the child was supposed to be dropped off at home, but nobody was answering. So finally, 2 days later, somebody called the police. The police go by the Leicester Street home to check on, do a wellness check. As soon as they get there, y'all, of course, it has, smell and everything is set in by then, but they said the floor was like a sea of blood. They go in, they see that there's no life. There's no life inside of there. There are bodies everywhere, including kids. Now, y'all, they walk in the bathroom, they see a child in the bathroom with a knife buried in its head, and the child was looking at them and it actually blinked. Soon as that happened, y'all, they're like, oh my goodness, we got life here. So they call the paramedics, they get the child out of there, get the child to the hospital, and y'all, lo and behold, This was the 9-year-old CJ. He survived. He survived. So Jesse Dotson Jr., y'all, he missed work the next day, and he tried to, pretend like he didn't know what was going on. And the brother Cecil did have gang ties. I'm not sure if he was still in it at that time he passed away, but in the past, he had called the police on one of the gang members. And so it was said that, people would tease him about the fact that those gang members were going to do something to him, because you're not supposed to call the police when you're in a gang. So Jesse tried to tell the police about that, like, oh yeah, my brother did have gang ties, and he called the police on this dude one time. They probably came and got the whole family or whatever. So they're interviewing him, but they haven't talked to the kid yet. They haven't talked to the kid yet. And when they talk to the kid and ask who done this, the kid says Junior, as in Uncle Junior, as in Uncle Jesse Dotson Jr. So Jesse, like I say, he been in denial, y'all, lying and all of this. He asked the police to bring his mother down to the courthouse. He confesses to his mother, and then for some reason, he ends up recanting that confession and says he's innocent. He didn't do it. He wasn't there. He has no idea why his nephew would implicate him in such a tragedy. But y'all, to make this it's not a short story at all. I'm simplifying it because this is YouTube. This is a very disturbing, demonic case. Jesse, he was the one that done it, y'all. He is currently still incarcerated in Memphis, and he's still trying to plead for his innocence. The nephew CJ, y'all, he does interviews and things sometimes. I really hope he has a better quality of life, because the last interview I seen didn't really look too good, but he's been through a very traumatic experience. When Jesse decided to unalive everybody, y'all, for some reason he shot the adults, but when it came to the kids, I don't know if he was out of bullets or something, but he ended up using knives on them. So he stabs up all three of the kids, y'all, and he's in denial about this. What this shows me is that, unfortunately, sometimes people cannot be rehabilitated. Jesse had been having problems with violence and anger and just not feeling like he was a deserving person. He'd been feeling that way for a long time, but he sat in that prison, y'all, and got even worse. So what did he do when he came home? Instead of bettering himself, trying to catch up and say, you know what, I'm gonna finally have a life I feel like I need to have, he ends up taking out his entire, almost his whole family. Now is in prison forever. And now, like I said, this is one of the worst massacres that has ever happened. So this is what I want to know from y'all. Have y'all ever heard of this case? Also, if you're in Memphis or in Tennessee and you have intel, we want to hear that in the comments as well. This is Jenny Gang Speech Channel, y'all. I cover true crime, and sometimes I do go into celebrity gossip. And if you look at my shorts, they're more like my personal life, what I do all day long, things like that. Like the video on your way in, and I'll see you guys on the next video.